All right, we're going to get started here. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this webinar on simplifying specification with Vive wireless lighting control. Appreciate you taking the time to be here with us today. And here at the Lutron team here, my name is Rick Walsh, and I'm the product manager for our Vive wireless solutions. We also have with us Eric Lind, who's actually on the road right now, but listening in. So appreciate Eric being here with us today. And he's our Vice President of Global Specifications here at Lutron. So what we want to cover today is really how wireless controls can help make the specification process for your project more efficient and overall improve the whole project process. Through that, we're going to kind of go over like why lighting control is used in building needs and requirements and how it makes lighting control simpler. We're also going to go through a brief overview of the Vive wireless system, the focus of the webinar today. And the meat of it, we're going to get into some design examples using two methods, both a spec-typical method and some of the resources we have there to help make your job smoother, as well as one of our tools called Lutron Designer Plus. So when we talk about lighting control, it's often associated with just energy savings, but lighting control is used for much more than just energy savings on a building. In fact, if you look at a building, energy savings is one of the smallest costs in that building. So now while this may vary in actual numbers from region to region, the relationship between energy, operations, and rent and salaries are about the same all around the country and all around the world, and that they're orders of magnitude different from each other. So where energy is $3 a square foot, salaries is $300 a square foot, so 100 times more than that. And today we expect more from lighting control to help not only save energy, but also help optimize our space, make it more efficient from an operations perspective, but also to help make the people more comfortable and productive. So it's very important that as we implement lighting control, we take into account all three of these pieces. And the types of things that you're going to implement in order to attack these different parts of the building cost are some things on the energy side, with lighting and shading control being an obvious one, but also making sure you can integrate to other systems in the building, like HVAC, for additional savings. In addition, looking at things like space utilization. Are we really optimizing our conference rooms? Do we need more offices? Those types of questions are important to have. And then from a salaries perspective, making sure that the layout suits the people, having the system automatically adjust so that there's the right light in the space for those people, and then providing the flexibility they need to make their space what they want it to be with personal adjustment and control. Not only do we want to attack those costs of the building, and are there a lot of benefits, but also energy codes are now requiring controls. So all across the country here in the U.S., whether you're looking at an ASHRAE standard, an IECC standard, or a Title 24 in California, all of these are requiring controls, and every couple of years are adding new requirements to those in order to go after that energy efficiency part of it across the country. And the key there is, again, we want to make it easy to comply with these codes as they're often changing, but also make sure that at the same time we're taking into account the productivity of people in that space. So at Lutron, we believe that why you use lighting control is to bring out the best in the building. We truly believe that every commercial building should be efficient, but also comfortable and productive for the people to work and learn in that space. Now, in order to do that for every commercial building, and not just the high-end ones or the special ones, is that we need controls that are simpler. So the products have to be easy to design, simple to install, and they need to be able to adapt to suit the needs of the space as it changes and grows over time. And our solution to that is our Vive wireless lighting control system. Simple, flexible, scalable, wireless lighting control solution for every commercial building, both new and existing. Now, the other challenge that comes up when you're trying to get lighting controls into the building is that you guys, as specifiers and designers of buildings, have some issues that we need to work through to help make this process more efficient. You're often working on multiple projects that are being designed at the same time, so competing priorities on your time. And all these projects are being condensed, so there's faster timelines from that design to completion part. We're seeing this rapidly expand around the country, and faster projects having to be done from the design perspective. Not only that, but because of that fast pace, there's more changes and uncertainty throughout that project design process. And then often that bleeds over into the construction or retrofit process for that building from the design perspective. And not only that, as we mentioned, both the codes and customers being more informed and educated about lighting controls are asking more and more of you when you're putting that system into their building. So the question is, how can you be more efficient? How can we help make you more efficient? And the real way to help with that is to pick the right lighting control solution and focus on using wireless control to save you that time. So to give a little overview on the Vive wireless system, just to ground us in what we're talking about here, the Vive wireless system is a lighting control system that's based on a few key building block components. We've got wireless remotes that allow people to adjust the light in the space. We've got occupancy and daylight sensors that automatically sense detection and light levels to adjust the lighting for those things. We've got the lighting load controllers, and we can also do plug load control with those same family of load controllers. Now, these are all room-based things that you can put into an individual room and start with just those one or two components, and then do the next room and scale over time. For those projects that want more centralized control and integration, we also have this Vive wireless hub that wirelessly ties all those components in those individual rooms together and provides a software that works on any smart device, phone, tablet, or PC, no downloading programs, no anything else, that gives you the information like your energy savings, your time clock schedules, integration to demand response to meet code in California, or for places that have load shed agreements between the utilities and the businesses that use them. When you're looking at a wireless system, the real reason it matters to designers and specifiers is that it helps in a number of ways. First, when you pick a wireless system over a wired system, it's going to provide lower labor bids from the installers. So that's going to help you provide value to your customers and your designs by reducing the overall cost of having the lighting control in that building. Not only that, we talked about how there's changes and uncertainty throughout the process. By having a wireless system, you can adjust to those changes without significant design alterations or change orders or things like that. An example of this is actually we worked on a project where we were doing a music hall and they had occupancy sensors. But towards the last minute, someone had to put in some additional sound dampening equipment that blocked some of the view of the aux sensors. With that, if you'd used a wired system, they would have had to go in and cut new holes and route new wires and maybe change the high voltage wiring in order to power those with power packs. But in this case, we were able to just move the wireless sensor without any new adjustment, no wires, no construction type of work, to the place they needed it, right around this new sound equipment, and the job was off and running. So that flexibility is very important. The other thing is we really took the design to make the wireless system simple to set up. So that means the project gets done right. You don't need a PhD technician from a factory in order to install it and program it. Anyone can do it. And then that same simplicity goes on to the facility manager and the building occupants to adjust that in the same way it was set up easily over time. So the three components that you kind of break down are those load controllers, wireless sensors, and wireless remotes. And the load controllers come in a couple different categories. And the easy way to think about this is it's the control that turns on or off or dims up and down a group of lights, whether it's mounted in the ceiling or in the wall. We've got versions that do both to help eliminate wiring or match the needs of that space. And we can also have our controls built directly into the fixture. So you can get an integrated fixture with sensing technology and wireless communication built into the product ahead of time, and have it shipped to the job all as one. So depending on the needs of your project, you can pick either of those when you go there. Then one of my little favorite parts of the system is called the Pico wireless remote. As you can see on the left, that wireless remote means that you can add it as a switch on the wall, but not need the wall box. So that profile shows that there's no thickness. There's no wall box needed. You can place that control anywhere. And this is great when you're doing existing buildings especially. Oftentimes you might not know whether the wiring in that wall box controls the right lights that you want it to control in your design. It may not also have a wall box at all, where you want to add a new three-way location, or if you're doing a classroom, putting a control on the teacher's desk using that pedestal there on the right. This gives you the ultimate flexibility in terms of getting the controls despite whatever existing conditions there that you need. And then again, those wireless sensors. We talked about the music hall example, but there's countless others where being able to move and adjust those sensors to where you need them saves that time. And again, also from a designer's perspective, reduces the need to make sure that the high voltage wiring or even low voltage wiring with a PAL pack needs to line up with the sensing on where the people are. And again, you can see that that wireless movement of been placing that sensor where you need it is very, very powerful. Then we talk about that hub. And again, this is an optional component for people that want the integration, the centralized control, and software throughout the process. And it not only helps you set up with that smartphone, tablet, or PC-based software, but it also has functionality to integrate directly into other building systems. No parts, no gateways, no extra things to keep in mind or processors. It has it native BACnet right into it. So an example of this is that if I want to have the occupancy sensors from my lighting control system set back the HVAC system, I can communicate that directly to that system using this Vive wireless hub. And there's a number of other examples like space utilization. We can share information to other dashboards, etc. The other thing to keep in mind as you're looking at wireless systems is that you want to have the peace of mind that it's going to just work. And at Lutron, we've been doing wireless lighting control longer than anybody else out there on the market. Certainly wireless is not something that's exclusive to Lutron. Many other people are out there, but nobody else has been doing it for 20 years with our wireless devices. We have a single protocol called Clear Connect that all of our devices speak to each other and you know are going to be compatible. We've got over 3 million wireless devices out there in the field over the last couple of decades in terms of getting those out there. And not only that, but we have 7 patents around our wireless technology that give us that reliable, proven performance. And the backbone of this is what our Clear Connect wireless technology is. So when you think about wireless today, the first thing people think about often is your phone, right? It has Bluetooth, cellular networks, Wi-Fi routers, Bluetooth headsets or headphones. And the one thing all those have in common is that they all speak at the 2.4 gigahertz frequency band. And that's true of many other lighting control systems as well. But what we do is instead of being on that crowded highway where it gets traffic jammed, where everyone's trying to talk at the same time, it creates issues with transmitting messages. If you've ever been at a stadium and tried to download something when everyone else is trying to at the same time, you'll know what I mean. Our Clear Connect is actually at a different frequency. You can think about that as a different highway. So it runs at 434 megahertz, which has some additional requirements from the FCC and regulatory bodies. But what it means is that we have an open highway. It's like driving in the HOV lane. You have to follow a lot more rules, but you have a clear path ahead of you. And that gives us this ultra-reliable communication. The other factor in terms of having peace of mind is the security of any system. This is something that's a reality in today's world that we all need to be aware of and take account of. And at Lutron, we believe that beyond just including things like AES 128-bit encryption and HTTPS and WPA2, which we all have included as part of this Vive wireless system, we need to take it a step further and really look at the life cycle of how a product's secure. What that means is starting at the product design. So you really need to build it into the architecture of a system in order to help make that possible. So for instance, we have a distributed system architecture where all of our devices have unique keys, which prevents you from accessing the whole system if any one is compromised. Not only that, we know we don't know everything. So we engaged third-party experts from around the world to come in and try to break the system. And through that, we were able to patch all those holes and make those improvements. And this is something that needs to go on at a continuous base. Not only are we continuously monitoring, but we're continuously improving the process. And not only that, we believe in a customer for life, and we provide ongoing support to take care of that customer throughout the lifetime of the product. So we've been shipping our Vive system for a little while now, and some of the responses we've gotten there, and we've shown you some here, have been extremely positive. It's all about the user-friendly. In fact, my first quote there is one of my favorites, is it's very user-friendly to program. Any contractor can do it. Actually, I think anyone can do it. And as we've shown this out even with demos and installations and tests, not only that, but on the projects we've done, both big and small, this has been the response across the board. So that simplicity really shines through, even in old buildings. And we've got a case study here that goes through, that even in a building going back to 1792, we were able to put lighting control in where they couldn't before. Because as Pat Henry said, it's just not feasible to always have to fish wires through the wall. Not only that, but we've also been having our wireless controls and those same simple components in buildings as notable as the Empire State Building, where that wireless approach really helps them meet their goals as well as improve the building performance and flexibility over time. So again, this is a very proven technology that's able to be out there, and we've seen a lot of positive success in all kinds of different building types. All right. So now that you've got an overview of the product, the question I'm sure you're all asking is, okay, so how do I design my building using this system? And the first part that we need to approach is making sure that you quickly understand what's required by your energy code. Emphasis on the quickly part. So at Lutron, what we've created are these quick reference guides for each of the major codes. Example being the IECC 2015 code we're showing here. And the way it works is that we've got all the different room types going through columns across the page, and then the requirements for code to meet those room types listed as the rows. So you can see in a break room that it requires an occupancy sensor and switching, but in an egress corridor, you need multi-level dimming and occupancy sensing. So it gives you that quick view of what's required for those space types and code. And the really cool thing is we got it all on one page. So for all those room types, this is the page that gives you the IECC 2015 Quick Reference Guide. So it makes it very easy for you to understand immediately what you need in each of those room types. And we've got those available for all the major energy codes, whether it's Title 24, you can see all the different versions of ASHRAE, IECC, and even the New York City Energy Code. And you can download those right on lutron.com/appguides. Very, very good reference point to help know what is needed for code. But beyond understanding what's needed for code and those requirements, how do you then map that to what the system components are needed in order to accomplish what the code's requiring? So at Lutron, we took it a step further. What we've done is pre-generated spec-typical designs by that same set of room types that give you the answer key. It's the code-compliant solution for that space. And we've got it in all the different document types that you need in order to integrate it with your drawings and your design tools. We're trying to make it as easy as copying and pasting into your spec title blocks the solution so that you can be efficient about how you do the designs in that space. So for each space type, we broke it into two different types of deliverables. The first is an application diagram, which is a visual one-page sheet. You can see that an example of one on the right that gives you both the layout on the space of kind of where the components go, as well as the model numbers, the descriptions, and the quantities, and most critically, the control functionality. So that sequence of operations is something that describes how the system's supposed to work, and those are the things required to meet code. So you can take this package, and here is your code-compliant IACC 2015 classroom. In addition, we've created a second document that allows you to take the product model numbers, wiring diagrams, ratings, have that same energy code and room type with that same sequence of operations right in CAD. Again, we've got it in DXF, DWG, and the idea is that you can just copy and paste this right into your spec documents and have all the answers right there without having to, again, synthesize, okay, the code requires this, how do I pick the right products to meet that code? So, an example being, if I have a IACC 2015 classroom in Texas, I take a look at my application diagram, attach that as reference, I copy and paste the spec typical CAD documents there on the right into my title block, and I've got my design for the space. If I'm doing a conference room in Title 24 for California, process is the same. Get your application diagram on the right, copy and paste the CAD typicals there on the left, and you've got your design for your Title 24 conference room in California. If you're doing a private office in Massachusetts, same process. Copy and paste those spec typical wiring diagram parts on the right, use your reference document there on the right with the application diagram, and use that to show the positioning of the space and reference the quantities of the product. It's really that easy. So again, we wanted to make sure we're doing the work for you up front. So it makes it 3 simple steps to use those typicals in your specifications. First, just download the files for your code. They're all available on lutron.com/Vive, broken up by code. So whether you're IACC 2015, Title 24, ASHRAE 2010, whatever the code is, we've got those all broken out by room type, and you can download those files. Copy and paste them into whatever your title block is, and then call out the room type on the floor plan or the RCP, either with a symbol or direct note, whichever is best for your methods. So for example, for classrooms, lighting control, specification details, refer to page XX. All right, so let's go through an example of what we mean by this. So we took a K through 12 school, and here's an example of a floor plan for that K through 12 school. Okay, so pretty standard outlay. There's some different spaces in there that we need to accomplish, standard type of floor plan for those schools. And rather than going through and having to detail out the placement of each of those components and figure out which one goes in which area, it's really more of a paint by numbers type of approach. You can simply pick that there are really 8 room types that this breaks out into: classroom, restroom, atrium, open areas, a couple of offices, some stairwells, and just call out those room types on this diagram. Then, again, literally copy and paste those spec typicals into your title block diagrams to call out for the room. So if you're doing your code base, pick that room type, copy and paste it throughout, and then add that note there, again, that same type of note that we mentioned before. For classrooms, lighting control specification details, refer to the page that you've got it attached to. So again, that's as easy as it needs to be to get your basic code compliant solution for those room types. And again, what makes this possible is truly the flexibility and the ease of the wireless on the install side. So having these typicals and doing that design means that the placement can be flexible. Something's a little bit different in a room, it's okay. We can move those sensors around. We can adjust the pico placement. Those types of flexible things make this method possible. But we also know that many of your projects need to do more than just being at basic code compliance. There's some that require more detailed design work, whether it's the owner has a specific requirement, there's a spec pointer or a sequence of operations you're looking for, whether it's scene control or some kind of additional performance. So what we've done is created a software package to help you do that type of design and save you time on that front as well. And that one we call Lutron Designer Plus. And this is a software that's available to everyone on this webinar that can be downloaded for free. and used as part of your toolkit when designing your lighting control system. The way it works is that you import a floor plan, and you just drag and drop the components onto that floor plan where you want them to go. We've got the rules in terms of sensor coverage and things like that built right into it so that you don't have to worry about mapping that from spec sheets and all that other stuff. It's built right into the software to help you along with that design process. And then the really great part is once you've dropped all the components onto the floor plan that you're looking for, it'll auto-generate the documents that we showed you with the spec typicals for that specific custom design, including the total bill of materials, the one-line diagrams, sequence of operations, system layout, etc. So that allows us to go through and generate those, and you don't have to then map them all back to some other type of document or layout that you need. So let's take a look at that same example that we looked at with the spec typicals layout, and now do it with Designer Plus. So this is a view of the same floor plan opened in our software package Designer Plus. And as you can see, this floor plan is kind of like your canvas for painting. And this over here is your paint. And you can see on here on the left, you could import additional floors to the building as they are one. And you can even export the answer once you're done to DXF and marry it back to the rest of your spec documents. So the way this works is you pick, whether it's a fixture, in this case we've got a couple versions here, simply pick the fixture, drop it into those spaces, and then pick the component, whether it's an aux sensor, a switch, a Vive hub, and drop it into those spaces. To zoom in a little bit and see what that looks like at the room level, you can see that the fixtures are all placed. You've got aux sensors in there, one of those Pico wireless remotes, and those are all in that same room and give you that placement, and you can move them around, adjust them as you need them, and go. Then, once you're all done putting that in, you go to our report center, and you can drop down and export all these documents, whether it's a bill of materials, fixture schedule as well. So you simply go to that report center to generate those documents as you go. So in this example, here's a shot of what it generates as part of the bill of materials. You can see that for this floor plan, we have this bill of materials generated. We can also generate those same kind of one-line wiring diagrams that we talked about and used in the spec typicals discussion for your specific design that needs to go beyond code. You can export that to PDF or DXF, again, to marry it with the other documents in your package. So, again, this software is downloaded for free. You guys all are able to get access to it. We'll be sending out the steps to download that in a follow-up email to this webinar, so you'll be able to just go ahead and follow those directions. Or you can visit lutron.com/Vive in order to go get access to the software as well, if you don't have access to that email at the time that you want to go get the software. So to kind of sum up here, next steps, visit our website, lutron.com/Vive, and download the spec typicals resources. It's going to make your job so much easier when you're doing those simple code compliant projects that we all have to design and get through quickly in order to be efficient with our time and our resources. You can also view all the other product information that you need in terms of, we've got some videos on there showing the product, we've got our case studies listed, so all those other product information is there as well. If you have a project you're working on now and would like a quote, you'd like us to come out and give you a product demonstration or any additional training, you can visit us at lutron.com/specifyvive. Let us know what you're looking for, and we can follow up with you with any of those things as we go. And then go out and design your next project using our Vive wireless controls and be more efficient in how you do it. That's all the next steps for this as we go. So at this point, I know we've been getting questions throughout in the questions box. We're going to try and go through some of those questions. Feel free to type in additional ones. I'm going to go through and answer some of those questions as we get them. And again, keep typing them into the questions box as you go. So let me see if we can pull some of those up. Can we receive a copy of the presentation in PDF format? And yes, we can send that out with this group. And we'll also be posting this as a video that you can view later as well. I think we talked about, some questions came in about existing buildings. I think I got a few of them from Peter and a couple other people. Again, Vive is great for existing buildings. We talked about the wireless components. So, we were on a job recently where we were walking an existing building, and they wanted to factor this into their ongoing budget. And what's great about the system is not only is it wireless, meaning that they didn't have to go in and rip the ceilings and rip the walls up. They could simply drop the components where they needed them, or replace existing switches, and then they could do it one room at a time. So many systems require you to go in and do the whole section. You need a bunch of processor stuff up front. With Vive, you can simply start with one wireless sensor and one switch. You take one toggle switch out of the wall, put that sensor in, mount that wireless sensor on the ceiling, and you're good to go. Then next week you can do one more room, and the next week you can do one more room, and then scale that building over time. You can add that central control with that hub later and scale that. So this was especially great on this particular job we were doing because they had a certain budget in an existing building, and they could only do those pieces and didn't want to disrupt the occupants in that space. This is also great in terms of TI, tenant improvement type of projects, where you can only do a floor at a time and need that architecture as you go. So it's absolutely meant for that in existing buildings, not just new construction, but also existing buildings. Let's see, some of the other questions coming in. Do Lutron have relationships with the wireless components available with manufacturers? Yes, we work with a number of manufacturers, different fixture manufacturers, to create integrated wireless fixtures. We've got a list of those available at lutron.com/findafixture. A high-performance fixture list that will show you both ones that have our driver technology built in. So what that does is that also gives you the dimming performance in some of our control systems, as well as the wireless technology built into it. We got some questions on Revit, I think, from a few people. Guillermo, Gary, a few others asked about Revit. Lutron Designer Plus does not integrate with Revit at this point. We can export, like I said, to DXF and import floor plans and such to that, but at this time it doesn't do direct Revit integration. But that's a great question, and we can look at that going forward. Some other questions. Can we create scenes for individual meeting rooms, and how can we interface to other systems? So you absolutely can create scenes. So using one of those Pico wireless remotes, we've got a version that does scene control. In fact, when I showed you that Designer Plus layout, the one that we were showing is a 4-button Pico wireless remote. What that does is you can set presets that send the lights to that scene as you go forward with that. And again, we talked about the integration. The primary method of integration today is through BACnet with the Vive wireless hub, as well as we have contact closure type of components for that level of integration. Let's see. In terms of availability, so we have our Vive system available now in North America, including Canada, Mexico, the United States. In addition, I think we're available in Colombia. We do have our wireless components, so the low controllers, sensors, and Picos available all around the world, Middle East, China, the UK, Europe. The Vive wireless hub is not yet available in all of those regions, but more info to come on that soon. We are looking at expanding to those areas. Another great question, I've got 3 or 4 of them on battery life. Great question. So as we looked at the wireless sensors and wireless Pico remotes, each of those has a 10-year battery life. So what that really means is that we've actually gone out and done extended life testing, as well as gotten third-party validations on the fact that we're going to exceed that 10-year life with our components. We've got white papers and all that other stuff on the website to go over that. And if you've got a specific question on that, we can go over that with you in more detail. In addition, we've also been using these wireless sensors and Pico remotes for, gosh, I think it's over 8 years now, and we've seen a very good success in the field for meeting all of that. So we have had no issues with those batteries not meeting their rated life throughout the actual field installation process. Let's see, so a lot of questions coming in. Let's see, talking about the Clear Connect, our 434 frequency band, how does that work in construction equipment? So the way we rate our range is actually we've got a number that says that we can meet it through construction materials. So unless you're building a solid metal wall, we actually get some benefits from that 434 megahertz band that we can propagate through construction materials better than a higher frequency like 2.4 gigahertz. So again, that builds into that reliability story that we've talked about before. Some more questions about integration. So I think I answered that with the BACnet as well. Some other questions about high bay sensors that came in, a couple of people. So we do have the ability to have high bay sensors communicate. We can use a sensor that has a module that communicates with our Clear Connect using a high bay sensor. In addition, one of the benefits we've really found with those types of applications is those wireless sensors can be placed down where the people are and not have to be limited to where the fixtures are. So again, this is one of those flexibilities of wireless that changes how you think about things, is that because you can place them down in the space and not have to have it tied to where the wiring is or where the control module is, you actually get more flexibility with those wireless sensors as you go. A couple questions about shades. So some guys that are familiar with Lutron obviously know that we have a very broad offering of wireless shades that can control in an automated fashion the amount of daylight coming into the space. So the Vive system, the Vive wireless hub, does not talk directly to those shades, but it does allow you to have shades in the same space. So as an example, you could have a single Pico controlling both the lights and the shades in that space with a scene, or you could have two Picos in the same faceplate, one controlling the shades and one controlling the lights, to give those people the ability to improve their comfort by adjusting those shades. That's absolutely something you can do with that system. All right, so there's a lot of other questions. I think I've tried to hit on most of them that have the categories. What we'll do is that we're going to take the complete list of questions and we'll follow up with you individually if there's a more detailed question or something I missed as we go through. And again, keep sending those in here and I can get some more of them and follow up with you individually over time. So want to thank you guys all again for attending this webinar. We really appreciate the time. We're really excited about these tools and we hope they save you time and help make you more efficient with your control designs in the future. And again, we definitely want to engage with you, so make sure you're reaching out, downloading the resources, and contacting us at those two links. Now we're finishing up a little bit early here, so we'll give you about 20 minutes of your Friday back. Again, appreciate the time, and thanks again for joining us here for the Simplifying Specification with Vive Wireless Lighting Controls webinar. Thanks again.